Good afternoon and welcome to Today on Bay TV. I'm Rachel Hopkins and this is Gaynor Morgan.
And we're joined today by leading journalist Llewellyn Jones and by Swansea Conservative leader Bishopston Councillor Lyndon Jones. Thanks for joining us.
We woke up today to a big speech by Donald Trump, another U-turn. So shall we take a little look at what he had to say for himself?
I share the American people's frustration. I also share their frustration over a foreign policy that has spent too much time, energy, money, and most importantly, lives, trying to rebuild countries in our own image instead of pursuing our security interests above all other considerations. And as we know, in 2011, America hastily and mistakenly withdrew from Iraq. As a result, our hard-won gains slipped back into the hands of terrorist enemies. Our soldiers watched as cities they had fought for and bled to liberate and won were occupied by a terrorist group called ISIS. The vacuum we created by leaving too soon gave safe haven for ISIS to spread, to grow, recruit, and launch attacks. We cannot repeat in Afghanistan the mistake our leaders made in Iraq. We will not talk about numbers of troops or our plans for further military activities. Conditions on the ground, not arbitrary timetables, will guide our strategy from now on. America's enemies must never know our plans or believe they can wait us out. I will not say when we are going to attack, but attack we will.
It must be very worrying for all the families of military who, finally had their sons, daughters, husbands.
Well, I think it takes me, I don't know about you, Lyndon, but it takes me back to Kennedy's famous inauguration address when he said that the Americans would pay any price, make any sacrifice, defend any friend against their foes. This was what America, wonderful piece of rhetoric, but disastrous as policy. And I think there's something of an echo there in what Trump is saying now.
I think he's right in what he's saying, because by having a timetable, where the troops actually get out, at that point, the Taliban and so on and ISIS have an opportunity to fill that vacuum. And I think he is absolutely right that by not saying a timetable, let's see what's happening on the ground. And I think that would actually create a safer world by actually doing that. And so often with things that he's done since he's been in office are quite different from the things that he said when he was campaigning.
Is there a fear that we're just very dismissive, or almost sneering of anything that President Trump says?
Well, I think I think personally, if we looked at the two candidates who ran for president, I would find great difficulty in voting for any one of them. But what he is actually saying in office is, as I say, quite different to what he said on the campaign trail. And he's obviously listening to advice from people, and I think he has made the right decision here.
Yes, well, you can't, when you're in power, it's totally different, isn't it? Politics, yes, as you well know as a practicing politician, is the art of the possible. Yeah. And, of course, the State Department who advise him are practitioners of the art of the possible. And I think this is what they've come up with and what Trump must adhere to.
Yeah.
His delivery seemed a little more measured than it has in the past.
Well, it has to be.
Well, I don't know if he has to do anything.
Well, I suppose, you see, he mellows, but, I mean, what are his advisors for if they're not going to advise?
Some people do think that have accused him of warmongering, though, haven't they? Because he seems to.
I think he had a late on the line this time, didn't he? really.
Yeah, I think that, as I say, I think he has made the right decision, but it is important that he does listen to advice. But at the end of the day, he has to make that judgment. He is the president. He is the one who makes that decision. But I think he's absolutely right in what he has said, because it will lead to a safer world.
As long as he doesn't start asking for divine intervention.
Well, funny you should say that, because we've got a lovely story now. We've got a scheme in Wales at the moment, Vote for Your Favourite Welsh Church. And we've got a clip of Hugh Edwards telling us all about it. So let's take a little look at that.
Excellent.
We all know that the churches and chapels of Wales are some of the most beautiful religious buildings anywhere in the world. Some 4,500 of them, from hilltop chapels to ancient churches to medieval cathedrals. And now Sanctaidd, that's Sacred Wales, is giving you the opportunity to choose your favourite. From a list nominated by churches and chapels, the National Churches Trust has selected 50 of the best from all over Wales, including one of my favourites, Capel Als, in my hometown of Llanelli. You can visit the Sacred Wales website, www.sacredwales.org.uk, and then vote for the one that you like the most. The winner will receive a special trophy as Wales's favourite place of worship and a prize of £500. We should all care about the heritage of churches and chapels which help tell the story of Wales, so let's help to keep them alive. If you're looking for a venue for an event, why not pick one of your local churches or chapels? If you're any good at DIY, why not volunteer with some repair work? Or if you're simply looking for a day out in another part of Wales, why not pop into a church or chapel and discover the fascinating history? The religious heritage of Wales belongs to all of us, so let's celebrate it.
It's a lovely idea, isn't it? And I think Hugh Edwards is quite right, that there has to be, whether we like it or not, there are fewer and fewer people going to church. Our church had an open day the other day on a Saturday so that people could come in who wouldn't normally go to church, but also that they're used more as a venue for events.
I think that's a great idea. People don't automatically, I mean, obviously weddings, christenings and the likes of, but, you know, if people wanted to do a charity event, even, you know, whole sort of some sort of small fitness classes there, some of them have got the room, but if they're standing there, why not use them?
Yes,
that's a great idea, actually, because it's putting the building to really good use and involving more people, and possibly some of those then might start to go to church.
And as long as it's respectful.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it would need to be. I think, you know, you couldn't allow any sort of organisation to go in. I think you'd need to be careful what you did. But there's a great opportunity to use the churches and chapels. I've actually voted in that, and I voted for Tabernacle in Morriston.
Well, they're actually leading the way at the moment. Now, there's 50 churches that have been nominated, and I've picked 5 churches just to have a little look at, simply because they're so very different from one another. So shall we take a look at the first church? This one is in Maesteg, Bethania Chapel, and it was built in 1832. And this is classical Beaux Art style. And so quite different, I think, but very impressive looking, isn't it? And I think important to keep all these buildings going because they make such a beautiful, you know, scene as you drive into a village.
One of the chapels in Maesteg, but I think it was Tabor, was the first place that the Welsh National Anthem was actually sung.
Well, this holds up to 1,001 persons. But I do think that the acoustics in these churches and chapels are amazing.
Well, they were always full because these places were obviously a hive of industry. Maesteg, a number of collieries there and working people.
And then the second church I've picked, and you can see so very, very different there. St David's in Newport. This was made and built in 1963. Maesgles in Newport.
Right.
That's what it said. Each brick behind the altar has the name of the pupil at St David's School who paid for it.
Oh,
so that's quite a nice. And then, so that's quite modern. The third church, look at that. How beautiful is that? Now that's a Norman stone church that was that's in Neath, and that was built in 1850. It's got a Crade 2 listing, so absolutely gorgeous, I think. And then number 4, I've got Sora Mynydd in Tregaron. This was built in 1822, I'd quite like to live there.
I've been
It
there.
looks lovely.
I've been there, yeah.
Well, I was going to say, they make a lovely day out. Mums that I know were always complaining that, you know, you take the children out, it's expensive. Why not go and sort of, you know, explore the churches? And this is a simple church just made of rubble and whitewashed. And then, of course, our fifth church, which is leading the way at the moment, is Morrison. Look at that. Very, very impressive, isn't it?
Yes. You can imagine that full of people, can't you? You know, the roar of prayer and music.
Well, that cost £18,000 when it was built in 1870, which was a huge amount. It was. Thank you both. Next, we will be taking a look at the papers.
So we look forward to chewing the cud a bit then and seeing you after the break when we'll have what to chat about.
Welcome back to Bay TV. I'm Rachel Hopkins and this is Gaynor Morgan. We are with journalist Robert Llewellyn Jones and Bishopston councillor Lyndon Jones.
And my favourite part of the show, I think, a look at the papers.
Let's take a look. Well, we have plenty of news about yesterday's eclipse in the papers today, the last one of this century. So shall we take a little look at what was caught on camera yesterday? Did either of you see the eclipse?
Well, on the television. I didn't get to Madras, wherever that was.
I think you can see it in America, couldn't you?
Yes. So this was picked up in America, where they had a much better view than we did. You can see that. And this is also the view of down below, of the people looking up during the eclipse.
It's like that in Port Talbot all the time. Why people
Why
should
would you want to look at the people looking down and looking up?
I'm sure.
Well, anyway, people were very excited about it, weren't they? And they'd won competitions to track it on aeroplanes. And
yeah, you can see it sort of happening now. But of course, in this country, it was quite cloudy and not particularly that interesting anyway. It started at around 1939 hours last night here. Full eclipse here was 8:05, and then by 8:30 it was all over. But
I can't remember what I was doing then.
I don't think anybody sort of really took much notice.
No.
But of course, today, waking up, there was news of some people still trying to look directly at it or look at it without the glass on. I don't understand that.
My daughter reminded me last night that when they were children, we all trooped down to Scare Beach, and my husband, being the farmer he is, had given us all welding masks, given the children welding masks to look at the eclipse. I couldn't really remember it, but there was a big thing, wasn't it, about 20 years ago?
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't see very much of it in this country, so nobody here...
No, saw it on television, and that was it.
I'm afraid I can't get excited about it.
No. I thought it was a lovely idea to have Bonnie Tyler on that ship singing Eclipse of the Heart, but I would have thought people wanted to concentrate on the eclipse because she was singing it. Well, I think we could see.
Let's take a little look at Bonnie Tyler.
Get a little bit restless, I dream of something wild. Every now and then I get a little bit helpless, lying like a child in your arms. Every now and then I get a little bit angry, I know I've got to get out inside. Every now and then I get a little bit terrified, then I see the look in nothing I can do, total eclipse of the heart.
She could have dressed properly.
I can't get how big those ships are.
Well, we'll see something else then.
Anyway.
Yeah, so that was on the cruise. And we've also got photos of Donald Trump, even though he's made the headlines already once and been in this show, of him and his family enjoying the...
All right, we can't live without that, can we? Oh, somebody heard me.
Someone explained to him what had happened.
He's got advisors.
Yes.
But no, I think obviously great to hear that Bonnie Tyler was singing. She's a great ambassador for Swansea.
Yeah. And it's such a famous
great
song
singer
as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
One thing that seriously came through from it all to me was that there's so much awe and emotion and all the rest of it over it now in this technological age. You can understand how people felt all those centuries ago when they didn't know what we know, and how awed they were and moved, and how their lives were shaped by the stars and an eclipse and that sort of thing. Can't you get some small idea of that?
And probably frightened as well, because they were uncertain what was happening.
You imagine an eclipse?
Yeah, you know.
But, apparently, it had quite an effect on animals all over. I don't know if anybody here has got dogs or if they sort of picked up on it. But in Nashville Zoo, the giraffes ran round in circles, all the flamingos huddled together. So in zoos where the eclipse were taking part, they sort of spotted really strange behaviour of the animals where they were quite unnerved by the whole thing.
They wouldn't have understood.
No. Yeah. And they wouldn't have expected it either, because they ruled by...
Interesting.
But also in the news, it's all about the Great British Bake Off, which is starting again it's relaunching next week on Channel 4. And instead of Mary Berry, we've got Prue Leith. And we've got that in the papers. But the big story is that Prue Leith sort of encouraged people to record the show and then watch back later so they could skip past the ads, because Channel 4 apparently put lots of adverts on because it was prime time.
Well, how did that go down?
Well, it hasn't gone very well, well at all.
Yeah.
Although, you know, they say there's no such thing as bad publicity, but, you know, obviously that's not what they particularly wanted to achieve. They wanted everybody to watch it as it was happening. So that's our next.
Do we all bake more as a result of watching these programmes?
I think it did become a fashion because of this. And then I think there's other programmes as well that have sort of been spin-offs and everybody seems to be making these cupcakes and fancy. I've got to be honest, I did buy some of the equipment. And,
how did you?
Yeah,
did you use it?
Once. No, I have baked since then, but I sort of spent ages trying to design these, you know, with butter icing and stuff. And they look nothing like the picture. They tasted really nice, but they didn't look anything like the picture. So the equipment's still in the cupboard, and I'm sure my daughter will use it with Play-Doh or something in a couple of years.
It's so often the story, isn't it? You know?
I think people, when they look at these things and you buy things and you lose it once and it's at the back of the cupboard then, and that's where it remains. But I think with all the cookery programmes on television, people are baking more, and I think people should probably be encouraged to do that, because with all the additives in some of the foods that you actually buy in the shops, I think it's better to have, you know, fresh food, fresh vegetables and so on.
You're buying into the dream, are you? I mean, I'm guilty of buying the same, you know, in these agricultural shows, you know, I've bought the same recipe book a few times, you know, it's gone back in the drawer.
I buy recipe books thinking, oh, that looks brilliant, I'm going to, you know, put everything in my slow cooker, be really healthy. And
or bottling fruit or that sort of thing, you know, and then you just, by the time you get organised and something's distracted you or the phone goes.
I've got a friend who started a business though, started baking, didn't realise she was going to take to it so well, completely the opposite to me, that her creations actually look like they should. And she's got a nice little business now, so, you know, some good things come of it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And they tell us that obesity is one of the curses of modern society, and here we are encouraging people to eat cake.
I think it's more to do with sitting down watching the television. Sorry, viewers.
I think if you're baking and you're making your own food, I don't think that really is a big cause of obesity. Obviously, there's a lot of calories in cake. I think it's sort of perhaps fast food and, you know, real junk food.
It's a combination of a lot of factors, isn't it? It's serious if you do sit around a lot of the time and if you are eating
too much
junk food or whatever. There we go. What else have we got?
Well, we've also got lots of things of what happened on this day back in history.
Of course,
so shall we talk about the
anniversary of the Battle of Bosworth, isn't it? Was it 1890? Well, no, 1485.
1485. We better go for 1485.
Yeah. The first Welshman on the throne of England.
Henry VII, indeed.
Great tale of intrigue and all the rest of it, wasn't it? What always catches my... Because they had a big open day in St Peter's Church in Carmarthen, didn't they, on Saturday to commemorate it? Because did they say that the Lord Rhys from Carmarthen was actually the man who killed Richard III?
Well, he was one of Henry Tudor's main supporters, wasn't he? Of course, historians now look back at this and say it was a bit of a tragedy, actually, for the Welsh nation that Henry Tudor did.
Oh, why?
Well, because the Welsh supporters, the Welsh aristocracy, went with him to Bosworth, and then from Bosworth they settled, like the Earls of Pembroke, settled in Wiltshire. And with that went the history of bringing in the bards to the castle, the poets and so on. And that bit of Welsh culture floated away with...
I'm intrigued by the actual story about this sort of child taken to Pembroke Castle and this... I've talked about a dysfunctional childhood, you know.
Well, he had a very tenuous link to the throne.
Yeah, and then out to Brittany, and then he came back to Haverfordwest, didn't he? Dale, was it? And the way that they marched, he marched up one way, and then I think Lord Rhys and the others marched up another way, because there were no mobile phones, were there, to alert poor Richard III?
Well, they did meet.
It's a wonderful story, and I mean, a ragtag army to an extent, wasn't it?
But the start of a great dynasty, actually.
The Tudor dynasty, wasn't it? Yes, and the Plantagenets, who had ruled England for centuries. Richard III was the last of the Plantagenet kings.
Yes. And of course, Henry VII had red hair, and he was known for being, you know, his hospitality, among other things. But that's a great Welsh trait, isn't it?
Oh, well,
and then moving forward to
lived up to
2004, we've got today's stolen paintings, because of course we were talking about when the Mona Lisa was stolen yesterday. And in 2004, the Scream and Madonna, two paintings by Edvard Munch, were stolen at gunpoint from the Munch Museum in Oslo, Norway.
All right.
Yeah. So
were they ever given back?
I assume they've gone back now.
All right.
Yeah, it doesn't say. I just saw that they were stolen.
I can never get over how much they're worth, these paintings. There we go. Well, thank you both. Thank you for joining us. And we'll be meeting West End star John Owen Jones after the break. So we're looking forward to that.
And we'll see you then. Welcome back to Today on Bay TV. I'm Rachel Hopkins and this is Gaynor Morgan, and we are joined by the man with the voice, John Owens Jones. Shall we take a little look at...
Well, you can do whatever you want.
Yes, and I've gate-cashed as well.
Let's see you in action.
He's afraid. Let him rest. Heaven blessed. Bring him home. Bring him home. Bring him home.
I love the story behind that.
Oh, there was a story, yes, which I just told off camera, but now you're making me tell it on camera.
Yes, go on.
Well, that was filmed during ITV's This Morning, and we were live, like it was like midday, and Tony Blair was there, and then I met Noel Edmonds, and I had a picture taken with Noel, and we looked exactly the same. With that grey hair and the beard, we looked exactly the same, like twins. Yeah.
I love it.
Now, I've told you quite a record breaker, but not for that.
Well, no, not for, I've only met Noel once, so that wouldn't be a record, would it? But no, I've done. I've broken a few little records in the West End on Broadway. Yeah, I did. I was the youngest ever actor to play Jean Valjean when I played it way back when I was 26, and that's held all the way through till today. There's nobody been younger, and I've done more performances of the Phantom in the West End production of the Phantom of the Opera than any other actor. So I was the first British actor to do Valjean on Broadway and in the West End. So there's a couple of little things.
Wow, what records!
Well,
Is it true you've played him almost 2,000 times?
I have, yeah. And you know, I might go back one day again, and we'll see. You know, if it fits in and everything.
Does the makeup get any easier each time?
Well, I don't. I just sit there, and I have a makeup girl who does it for me. So yeah, so you know what that's like.
Then you know you've made it.
Yes,
then you know you've made it.
It's not too bad, actually. I mean, when Crawford first did it, when Michael Crawford originated the role, it took about 4 or 5 hours to do, and now they've got it down to 45 minutes. Though sometimes, if I'm stuck on a train on the way into work, we can get it done in 10.
So you've travelled the world playing Jean Valjean.
Indeed, travelled the world, yes.
And on Thursday, you're going to be doing something
it's a very big special event, yes. On Thursday, I'm from a family of butchers. My dad and my brother own a butcher shop in Buryport, where I'm from, called Lyndon Jones and Sons. Family butchers. Meat to please you, pleased to meet you.
Is this a plug?
It's a little plug, yeah. And my brother's expanding the shop, and now he's opening a new venture in Llanelli Market called the Sausage Hut, where you can buy artisan sausages, which are all handmade by him and his team in the shop in Buryport, and I'm opening that big special gala performance, opening that and
cutting the ribbon.
But I'm not, even though my brother really wants me to, I'm not dressing up as a sausage.
Now, what's the secret of a good butcher's then? Because it's very difficult, isn't it, to sustain this?
You know, a lot of people now go to supermarkets and they just buy it there and then, you know, and it's just easy. You know, but you get the knowledge from a butcher, you get the knowledge, the experience, and the passion for what they do. You know, my father is, I mean, if you see him, you know, deboning something and cutting it, it's unbelievable. It's a craftsman, you know.
So when did you realise that you weren't destined for behind the counter in the butcher shop?
Well, when I realised how hard it was. Because it's a skill that takes years to learn, and both my brother and my father are incredibly good at it. And I just thought, well, I'm never going to be that good, so I'll just try singing.
Did you know from an early age that you had a good singing voice?
Well, I'm Welsh. So,
well, I'm Welsh,
you know, no, it's one of those things that I never knew I was a singer. I always wanted to be an actor, and I joined Llanelli Youth Theatre, and I remember being in like we were doing a chorus number, and I was singing in the background, and the director, Chris Rees, heard me sing, and he said, "Oh, you're going to have a solo." And I'm like, no, I can't do that. That's not... Yeah, but you can sing. No, I can't sing. And then I went up and I did the solo number, and I also had to kiss a girl at the end of the number, and I thought, this is the life for me. You know?
And I can come in there because I saw all these productions.
You probably were at that one, yeah.
Yes, I would have
yes,
been.
Indeed, yeah.
And of course, in those days, it was Grease that you were in,
Grease,
and a hired man.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ Superstar in the Theatre Ethley, then in Llanelli.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, you've gone on to such great things, to have played the world, really.
Yeah.
You know, and you've been doing a Welsh tour quite recently.
I did, yes. I played 4 dates in Wales. We went to Aberystwyth, Rhyl, Blackwood and one that's completely slipped my mind, but it was a great night, I promise you. Probably too good, that's why I can't remember it. And then, so I enjoyed it so much, actually, I'm coming back to do a couple of gigs again. I'm going to Llanelli, to the Furnace. We've got a gig there on the 7th of December. That's sold out, but I'm doing a concert, my first headline solo concert at St David's Hall in Cardiff. So
you touched on the point that Welsh people can sing, and there are a lot of really talented people around. Without being too immodest, what's the distinguishing factor? Is it raw talent, or is it persistence, a lucky break?
It's a combination of all those things, really. I think as a singer in Wales, you naturally have a timbre to your voice, you know, like a because we have a very sing-song, melodious accent, like Italians, and so naturally it lends itself to singing. You know, you don't really get that with Russian people. No offence to any Russian viewers, you know, or Japanese people, because like the way the consonants and the vowels are formed in the language, it doesn't lend itself to long singing. So we have a very melodious voice, which lends us to melodious singing.
And then you were trained in London?
Yeah, but I trained as an actor. Only ever had one singing lesson.
I see.
Yeah.
We've got a video of that. Shall we take a little look?
Yeah, okay.
Ar yw brith all goncro'r dydd, a fydd ben concro a'i chalon hydd, methiant a fydd. Mae heddau'n dragiwydd, gynt cyn creu ffiniau li y byd. Heb un fan efri, heb un fyddin hi.
The language of heaven.
Do you speak Welsh?
A little bit.
Tiny,
yeah, only a tiny bit, but it's like I tried learning it. I went on Cariad at Iaith on SFC.
Oh, yeah.
And if I'd stayed doing that course for like a month, I'd have been fluent. But I live in London and I hardly ever see Welsh people, you know, every day, so I wouldn't get a chance to practice it, and it needs practice. In fact, I was out in Russia, in Moscow, presenting an award at the Bolshoi, and I bumped into an old friend of mine who was actually a theatre designer, Paul Brown, and he is always out working in Russia, and we were talking about the fact that I was going on this programme. He said, "Oh my God, you're learning Welsh." He said, "That's harder than Russian." I can speak Russian, he said, I can't speep Welsh.
That's really interesting, isn't it?
So yeah, and they've got a different alphabet.
I was going to learn it, perhaps I won't bother now.
But you're singing in Wales, but before you come back, you've got some major projects with Tiger Bay, the brand new musical.
Yeah, I'm doing Tiger Bay in Cardiff. Actually, next weekend I'm off to America. I'm doing a solo concert in New York, and I'm singing in Welsh again at the North American Festival of Wales, which is a festival that happens every year that goes to different cities around the States, and all the local Welsh people get together. And I'm singing with the Toronto Mill Voice Choir, so that's really exciting. And then at the end of the year, I'm coming back to Cardiff to do a new show called Tiger Bay, which we started for the Wales Millennium Centre. I'm talking very fast, haven't I? I'm really, because I've had a lot of coffee. I've had a lot of coffee, but I'm getting all the flags in. So Tiger Bay is set in Cardiff at the turn of the last century, and it's all about the social strata. You know, it's almost like let's see, it's about the King of Coal. It's about my character.
Wasn't it the first £1 million cheque?
The first £1 million cheque. My character, John Crichton Stewart, the third Marquess of Bute, who built Cardiff Castle and Castell Coch and owned the docks and made a penny for every ton of coal that went out to the world through the docks, became the richest man in the world. And it's about from his life to all the people that live and work below him in Cardiff docks.
Really interesting.
It's fascinating.
It's a very exciting time, wasn't it? Really.
Yeah. And also we've had the music's written by Dav James, and it's absolutely fantastic. I really recommend people come and see it.
Oh yeah,
November. Wales Millennium Centre.
Yeah, the first time they've done a brand new show. It's November the something. 20.
And who's the director? Who's put it all together?
Oh well, we've got Melly Still, who was Tony and Olivier nominated director for a show called Coram Boy. The producer produced the War Horse play.
I've seen that. I've only seen 2 West End plays. It's the War Horse and Les Miserables.
Right, there's to the best. There we are.
As Keith says, I lead a sheltered life.
No, but you're so appreciated in America as well as you and throughout the world.
Yeah. So I've had a busy year, you know. This is capping it off, coming on Bay TV.
Of course. It's a highlight, isn't it?
I've done a Welsh tour. I've released a new album.
And all year you've been waiting to come on Bay TV.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a highlight. Everything's done.
We've had so many people on, but we managed to squeeze you on this morning, and we're so glad.
And we're going to talk to you more, aren't we, later after the break?
Yes. So we've got more videos to watch of you as well.
Oh, that's
Aren't you
great.
lucky?
Yes.
I can't
We'll be
wait.
singing along. To put our mics down
He's
so nobody
picked
else
out
can
all
hear
his
us.
favourites. So,
Yes, I have. We've got Phantom of the Opera yet.
He says the whole lot, don't you? You know,
Thank you
all
both for coming in anyway. We will be back after the break and we'll continue with more John Owen Jones.
And we'll hear some more singing. So we'll look forward to that. See you then.
After the break.
Welcome back to Bay TV. I'm Kana Morgan and this is Rachel Hopkins. We're talking to West End star John Owen Jones, and our showbiz news editor Keith Milward is with us too. So thank you both for staying with us.
So John,
Yes.
We've been talking about everything that you've got going on.
Yes.
My mind's sort of going crazy thinking about it. How do you keep track of where you are? And
I have about 5 different agents. That's why, yeah.
Sounds complicated.
Yeah, it is, yeah. That gives even more... But I only have to worry about the agents and not the work. So I've got a New York agent, I've got a worldwide concert agent, I've got a UK theatre agent, a New York theatre agent, a record company, a manager and a voiceover agent.
Nice to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
So all the commission I pay, I don't make any money at all.
I feel really sorry for you. All the shows you've been in, have you got a favourite?
I think Les Mis, actually, yeah. Yeah, it's always satisfying. And also, because it's a company show, it's an ensemble piece. Even though I'm playing the lead, it's just a sense of family there, you know. When I play the Phantom in Phantom of the Opera, I don't see anyone. I literally don't see anybody apart from on stage, because they're all on stage working, and then I just pop into the show every now and then. So the only people I see there are the makeup team and the wardrobe team. So Les Mis is more enjoyable because you spend more time on stage with more people.
I think we can get a feel of that now. I think we can get a longer...
We can't get enough of Les Mis.
No.
These men who seem to know my crime will surely come a second time, one day more.
How can I live when we are parted?
One day more.
Tomorrow you'll be worlds away, and yet with you my world has started.
I'm always quite envious of people who can sing it really well, because I give it my best shot, and even being Welsh, it's nothing like that.
Oh, go on, let's hear it then.
Yeah, no.
That was at the Vinyl Festival?
It was at the Vinyl Festival, yes. I can't remember when that was, but it was about 2005.
Tony Fisher.
It hasn't run for a few years, has it?
Yeah, it hasn't. No, I think it...
a wonderful idea.
The big crash happened, didn't it? And
Wonderful.
everyone was struggling for a while.
Wonderful when it
was
did,
great, yeah. I think we had 15,000 people in the audience that night. Michael Ball, Ruthie Henschel, myself, Connie Fisher, Bryn Terfel.
What
it was great, yeah. It was really good, yeah.
Must have been terrific.
Oh, it was great, yeah.
Yes.
And I had a lovely hotel.
Oh, well, that's all.
Yeah, and me and Bryn have been great friends ever since, so... Yeah, so we play golf together and stuff. So.
Another great character.
Oh, he's great. He's a lovely, lovely man.
And you've played, obviously, with Phantom the Opera and Les Miserables, and many, many performances. Tell us about some of the moments that didn't quite go to plan.
I told you not to ask me.
Let's hear more.
Well, things like, have you seen Phantom of the Opera? You know, there's a boat that goes down the stage, right? Well, everyone thinks that boat is on tracks and it's like controlled, like on grooves in the floor with wheels, but it's not. It's totally free roaming, and it's driven by a stage manager in the wings with a remote control, because it's powered by a remote control car unit underneath the boat. So this magical theatre thing happens where this boat goes along this lake, but it's somebody walking in the wings trying to control it from a distance with a remote control. And the boat used to break down all the time because minicabs driving up and down the street outside the theatre, their radio would interfere with our radio. So sometimes you're punting the boat like that, and then you just go all over the place. Yeah.
Oh,
just hoping you don't go in the audience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, luckily there's a special thing which stops that happening. Yeah. But it did get a bit hairy sometimes. Yeah.
Shall we take a look at it going right?
Yeah.
Going right anyway. Yeah, I think so.
You always knew that man and mystery
were both in you.
It does take you out of yourself.
This was the tour, wasn't it? That was
in 2012. That was the Cameron McIntosh, a producer, decided around the turn of the millennium to reinvent both shows, because he's had huge success with the Les Mis and Phantom all over the world, but he decided that he wanted to bring it to a new audience for the millennium, and so he redesigned, redirected, reproduced and everything from the ground up of these two shows, Les Mis and Phantom. And I played Valjean and Phantom in these productions, and that video was from Phantom.
I remember my heart being in my throat when I was watching that production, because the steps were just emerged just before you walked down them.
The set was basically this like 100-foot tall cylinder.
Incredible.
And we had to walk down the outside of it, and steps would appear outside. And just before you stepped on it, the step would appear. And then, it was
concentrate
massively
on what you were
dangerous.
doing,
Yeah, it was. I mean, like literally on a Saturday afternoon, you did not want to be doing that. Because if you'd had a bad Friday night, going down those steps, slightly worse for wear.
People go on about Tom Cruise doing his own stunts. Nobody's mentioned.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know. So who's Tom Cruise? Never.
Things must go wrong, though. How do you cope when things do go wrong?
Well, see, that's the beauty of live theatre. Just like live TV, if something goes wrong, it's funny. You know, and the audience really enjoy being there for that moment. They have something to talk about. It's not just a run-of-the-mill show then. I remember we were in Leeds doing that tour of Phantom, and there's a lot of smoke involved on the stage, you know, a lot of dry ice and things like that, and it set off the fire alarms in the theatre. So we were all in makeup and costume and everything, and us and the audience and all the stage crew had to leave. And so I'm standing in the street, and I'm standing there having pictures with people, you know, and the fire brigade were there, and I'm having pictures with the fire brigade. And that made that show special because it was so unique to that night. It didn't happen ever again, you know.
And you went back on and continued with the show,
and the next night it was a perfect show, and the audience loved it, but I still see people who come up to me and say, I was there that night. You know, I was there that night, your flies were down. Sure. But I was there that night, you fell over. You know, that's the beauty of it.
I imagine the adrenaline to keep going to a show like that. Do you crash afterwards, or do you have to keep going for a while?
Well, I can't get to sleep for about 4 hours afterwards, so you're on a kind of a physical and emotional high, you know. So it is. That's the hardest part of the job, is trying not to eat after the show, because that's when you balloon, you know.
And you've played Broadway as well as London. Now, is there any difference, would you say?
The main difference would probably be the fact that on Broadway there's a much bigger talent pool, so they have more competition for the roles, which means people have gone on a longer journey to get there. So, you know, people. I mean, I would get. People at the stage door in New York who'd come up to me and said, "Oh, we flew for 5 hours to get here." I said, "Where have you come from?" Texas. You know, it's part of the same country, but they have a 5-hour flight to get to Broadway, which makes it a bigger deal when they're there.
Yeah, no pressure then.
Well, no, exactly. I mean, the show, it's the same level of professionalism as the West End. Everyone's really good. But the audience reception is heightened because people have made more of an effort to get there.
That's interesting.
They haven't just got on a bus from Swansea, you know, like a National Express coach. You know, they've actually had to book flights and hotels to go and see a show.
Quite an event.
So, it's like a holiday for them.
Yes. But tell us more about the album, because you've got the new album.
See, you're really good at this.
I want to know.
I have released 3 solo albums. Llewellyn Jones, Unmasked and Rise, and this year I released a compilation of all those albums, all the musical theatre tracks, and added a couple of new tracks, and really brilliantly called it Bring Him Home, a collection of musical favourites. So audiences know exactly what it is, and there's a picture of me as Phantom and Valjean on the front, so you know, it's very obvious it's me singing songs from musicals, but it's basically a collection of great tunes, you know, but I'm really happy with it.
Oh, it's smashing.
That came out in June and is available on many different websites.
And apart from that, and apart from Tiger Bay, what else have you got on the horizon?
Well, next year I'm going to Japan a few times, possibly the Middle East, middle of Europe. I'm travelling a lot, basically.
Not easy to reconcile with family life, is it? You've got teenagers and a wife.
Well, yeah, that's true. But often I find the fact that when, you know, my kids were really small and I was going to work at night, and you know, I could spend all day with them, and then my wife would come home from school where she was a teacher and she could spend all evening with them. And now we've got to the point where I'm lucky enough to be able to do a couple of concerts a month and spend a lot more time with my family as a result. I don't do an office job. I don't go to work 10 till 5 every day. So I see more of my family.
And in the few seconds remaining, we're not going to close without giving Elgin Jones the Butchers in Llanelli.
Elgin Jones the Butchers and the Sausage Hut in
Where can we see you next?
The Sausage Hut on Thursday at the opening.
We'll all be there.
So star of shows and screen and CD and everything else. And we'll see you next in Llanelli Market?
Yes, Llanelli Market on Thursday,
Forward to that.
and how high does that rate on your...
Oh, it's family. It's the highest of all, you know.
Yeah.
But after that,
critics.
Yeah, they are my biggest critics. Yeah, and they always like to bring me down to earth.
And all the people who've known you since you were a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We must remember Tiger Bay in November in Wales Millennium.
We remember that as well. Thanks all for joining us on the show.
Next today on Bay TV, we have our afternoon matinee movie. It's comedy down Among the Z Men.
And we've had a great show today. And
yes, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
We'll see you all now in Llanelli Market. So thank you very much.